Let's do our thing. Hey, I got to tell you, we'll have a snippet of it here today, but I had a chance this morning to talk to Zaire Thomas, talented defensive back for Florida State, as you guys well know. And I enjoyed my conversation with him. I think you'll hear him tomorrow, maybe in his entirety, on this show. That was a Warchant exclusive for gold members on the Renegade board. If you're a gold member, you get to ask questions of players. Brought to you by the Battle's End, and we solicit the questions, and then you guys ask them, and then I sit down and do interviews with players. It's going to be a series, and I really look forward to it. I get a chance to talk to some other players in the future. One of those will be DJU. We got a lot of DJs out there on this team, so I better specify, but DJU will be one in the future. Look forward to that as well. But this morning's was Zaire Thomas, who I think has a chance, Tom, to be an outstanding player. I mean, we thought that from day one when we saw him. He just sort of was able to glide around that indoor practice facility on that first time that we got a look at him, and he's played a lot of football for Florida State already. It's funny, you go back, look at those snap counts, you look at those numbers, you realize how talented you have to be to come to a place like Florida State and get on the field right away and play some significant roles. And then as much as he played last year, I think we can tell he's emerging potentially as a star here. I think he's an all-ACC caliber player. I think he could maybe go and transcend that. But it's always great when you get a moment like this to talk to one of our players and you find out that they're focused, they're hardworking, they're smart, they're working on all the right things, they're great teammates. I thought he jumped off the page today when we had a chance to talk to him. We'll play one snippet of something he said that I think is really enticing. We don't have to do it right yet, but he really came across. We've talked to Zaire and other players before, but it's usually a post-practice wrap where they're one of the guys chosen to talk or something. It's kind of quick, and you don't really get keen insight. So it was nice to have a Q&A with him and kind of see him reveal who he really is. I thought that went well.
It did. He's a player that, you're right, with the tour of duty. I remember Sam McCall was coming in as the heralded five-star-ish player, and Azarie was the signing day surprise for Florida State. He was not tied to the signing day ceremonies, to commitments, RPMs, as they're called on the on-3 side of the industry. Then when you get through all the noise and you say, okay, when they get to campus, who is the player? Within one quick practice, one quick tour of duty workout, he was the one. Azarie was the one that moved like a college-ready player, not McCall. It's not that McCall wasn't talented. They were in the same group. They happened to be in the same trio running through the drills. I thought, man, I'm showing up here to look at one kid, and then I'm instead fixated on this other player. And then we saw him in practice. He wasn't scared early on. There was a bit of a bump in the road in terms of, we had expectations he had showed out in the spring, and then you didn't see a ton of it in his true freshman season. But, man, it has come to fruition by the end of last year, his sophomore season, where you say that's everything that we saw in one-on-one drills he can now do in a team setting. He's a really smart player, and he's a player that plays with a ton of passion. That came out of him late last year, which I think speaks to how much more comfortable he is in his surroundings and with the speed of the game. You're able to play with emotion when you know what it is that you need to do and you're not thinking on your feet.
Yeah, not having to think so much and really being comfortable. I like, again, we're going to let this sit for our gold members and Renegade board users for a day before bringing it onto the show. So I don't want to give away too much. But I would tell you that, I think there's a maturity that comes across in the interview. And I would also say that he's pretty selfless. He thinks about his answers, and he thinks about the impact of other players or his answers in the interview, how it would impact other players. I think you could see that, that going through his mind. He's courteous. That's just maybe a nice way of saying it. He's just courteous. He's thoughtful, and he's not devoid of confidence. And it's a rare combination to have a guy who is all at once courteous, understanding how his answers may affect others, but also full of brashness and confidence regarding what his abilities are, which, as he says, I can pretty much do anything on a football field. And that was nice to hear. And if you could say that without ego, he did.
Yeah, then I would think, look, Fentrell Cypress didn't have a bad season, not by any stretch. Was it up to the level of what the Pro Football Focus hype might have been? And what the transfer portal ranking may have been? I think that's close. It's a close call. He was solid. He wasn't great. He wasn't bad at all either. But when you're projecting for this season, who do you think is going to be the lockdown corner? I look at Azarie first.
I do too. I absolutely do, Tom. I actually don't think it's close. I'll just let you know. I think he's going to be that kind of good. This is going to be a fascinating year for prognostication. It always is. It's always fun. You get some right, get some wrong, and people will hold your feet to the fire. That's for sure. It's great when you get it right. Most of the time, you want to get it right, not because you want to be proven right, but because it means good things for the program, for the team. But I actually feel like I'm not out on a limb because you and I just agreed about Azarie Thomas. But I will tell you that I feel like there are 7 critical players, at least 7, that if they take the step that I think they're capable of taking, he's one of them, then Florida State's going to be a whole lot better than that projected 9.5, buddy. I really believe that. And one of them's got to be the quarterback. We talked about this yesterday. He's got to have his best year, but he's set up to do so. One of them's got to be Hakeem Williams. I think he will. In fact, I'm almost certain he will. There'll be a guy that has one giant leap forward that we don't predict, because it always happens. Somebody always takes a big leap when you didn't expect him to, and somebody also, unfortunately, oftentimes takes a step back when you don't expect them to. So it kind of, at times, you hope it doesn't even out. You want more in the positive direction than not. But I think as I go through that roster, even if you project the starters, you kind of have some fun with it and say, all right, well, maybe this guy is poised to. This guy really came on at the end of the year. This guy was hurt, but right before he got hurt, he was about to take off. This guy put on this much weight in the weight room. This guy's gotten a lot stronger. Think about what Josh Farmer became from his first year to where he is now, and the leap in size and strength. I mean, he told us on an interview we did here on the JCS that he'd put on 55 pounds since he had come here and became one of the strongest guys. Coach Storm's talking about him. Players do that. It happens. We got to be reminded they're still young men. They're 18, 19, 20 years old. Think about how much bigger and stronger you got as you started to enter into your man years.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. I actually look at the defensive interior for improvement, and you might say, what? Farmer and Jackson are really good. Yeah, well, it's one thing to be a rotational player like Farmer was and a legend in a sense like Darrell Jackson is, at least for Florida State purposes, and then to be leaned upon for 45, 50 reps a game. It's a very different week after week. Now, this is a good year if you're going to be breaking into that role because of so many bye weeks for Florida State. You're going to get a lot of breathers, but still, the way that the depth chart is shaping up right now, you're going to have to lean on those 2 guys more this season than you had to lean on Braden Fisk last year. Or if Fabo was the featured player in the defensive interior last year, you're going to have to lean on, Darrell Jackson more than Fabo was brought on. So, I mean, it's not that Grady Kelly can't play and Daniel Lyons isn't projecting nicely and KJ Sampson might not be able to contribute. It's just as it's currently comprised, your top 2 guys, I think, need to be your top players in a way that maybe defensive end doesn't even count on Patrick Payton or doesn't count on whoever you want to put on the other side. If it's Marvin Jones Jr. or somebody else, they can throw numbers at the problem in the way that I don't know defensive tackle can with top flight talent. So if those 2 guys improve, that would be good. And if you could field some more depth at defensive tackle as well, I think that is what sets the stage for this team to go to a different level, because then the offense can go through lulls and the defense can carry you through some stretches.
I don't think they're done there. I've hinted at that. I've said it straight out. I got to be careful how I phrase it. I got to be careful of the way I say it. I just a sense that I get that there'll be additions to this team, and I think in particular probably at defensive tackle in the interior there. I would think, but that's not giving up state secrets, man. Look around college football. The importance of that is known by all who compete at a high level. And so you never stop searching. You never stop, combing the landscape of college football for a guy who's somewhere else who may want to be amongst those that take the field at Doak Campbell Stadium. I mean, it's spring now. It's pretty normal for us to see another couple of additions and maybe a loss or 2 of some players. I mean, anymore, that's just the way you got to look at it. You got to look at spring as a fierce battle for depth and for reps and to see who's going to win certain jobs, who's going to be the primary backup at other jobs. And then from there, when you start to get a sense of who that's going to be, typically towards late spring practice, you got a real idea. This player was able to stave off this up-and-comer. This guy was not. This guy took a step back. This guy took a step forward. And how does that impact the roster for the upcoming fall practices? But also, how does it impact the transfer portal? Both, who do you lose based on what they now know to be true? And who do you have to go after based on what you know now to be true?
I think one position to watch, and I'm not saying that it is a fait accompli that they're going to be dipping into the portal for this position, but it's an important spring. It's actually tight end. I think tight end's an important role here because Kyle Morlock is, yes, that's a fixed position for you. Mm-hmm. Kyle, you're going to be a starter.
It's really interested with 2, 3, and 4.
That is correct. Like Jackson West is somebody that they're very excited about because he's finally getting healthy and they gave him more reps towards the end of the season. Maybe that was because they knew somebody was going to be leaving at the end of the year, but they got him more game experience. If Landon Thomas can take on the responsibility as a true freshman, they would not need to dip into the portal. But if they say, all right, Jackson's still not a polished up product. We don't know what we have in Landon just yet. We like what we saw in spring, but maybe he could use some more refinement. Maybe they would dip in to find some other solutions there. I know that they've got more guys in that tight end room. I'm just saying that I wonder if maybe that's not a position that's going to be critically watched by Chris Thompson and Mike Norvell in camp, because Mike Norvell loves to use a variety of tight ends, even if it's just an inline guy who they know can block and they could trust to block. Maybe that would be enough, but I'd be interested to see how that battle shakes out and what kind of reps are distributed during spring. That's going to be another one that we report on. We have like 6 more that are more important than it, but when you're talking about bells and whistles and winning 10 and 11 games, Jaheim Bell, when he was healthy, you saw what a difference he made. So you never know.
Yeah, there's a guy that they really loved that they brought in at one point. You didn't mention him there, and I know why, and I'm not trying to be harsh on anybody, but, kid from Texas who they thought was going to be a player, and we're waiting. So maybe he takes a big step forward too, Tom. I don't know. It's possible. It's possible. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. And when people figure it out, and all of a sudden you're, look at that. He's going to contribute, and I didn't think he was going to because he had the body type, but we've been waiting on it, and we'll see.
I think Landon Thomas fits the offense perfectly well. And I know that he likes to block. It's just that, is it too much too soon? Because if the answer is no, it's not too much too soon, then you don't need to touch the position. Then you're ready to go, and you've got a true freshman out there. And that's a great recruiting pitch for future classes to get the modern day H-back tight ends where you say, look at this right away. This kid's a star for us. But it's just, you wonder about how, they're going to assess it and how much they throw at him in his first spring. There's too much field to cover. I know that they're shrinking with all the construction that's going on, but there's so much to cover in spring, so many position groups, it's going to be hard to get to every single one of them.
We'll hear from the aforementioned Azareye'h Thomas here in just a second. I want to comment on that after we do. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Patients everywhere are experiencing joint pain relief thanks to QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. So how does this non-surgical approach work? QC Kinetics Medical Director Dr. Aaron Wolkoff explains.
It's like when you get a paper cut and the cells that come onto that scene first stop the bleeding, and then it recruits more cells to form new skin and new soft tissue. And then you look down a week later, 2 weeks later, and it's like nothing happened and that paper cut never existed.
In this same way, QC Kinetics uses your natural biologics to help repair and restore aching knees, hips, shoulders, and backs.
We take those same similar cells in different areas that are arthritic, are painful, and we cause this kind of internal self-healing that can resolve patients' pain.
Relief without surgery. See if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments.
Call QC Kinetics, 850-391-4280. That's 850-391-4280. 850-391-4280.
I'm Greg Tisch, and I want to share one of my favorite TCC alumni stories. It's been almost 30 years since Charlie Ward led the 1993 FSU football team to won the Heisman and became the first Heisman winner to play in the NBA. But did you know, like thousands of students before and since, he started his college career at TCC? We are proud to call Charlie Ward one of our own. Today, he serves on the TCC District Board of Trustees, so you might even get to see him around campus.
TCC thanks our community for 58 years of support. We look forward to moving into the future together.
Man, I just got a text from my wife. She wants me to cook dinner and then snuggle on the couch next to a roaring fire.
So what's the problem, Dave? You already got the new grill, and you're a great cook.
I got one major problem. We don't have a fireplace.
Man, that's an easy fix. Just call Hearth and Patio. They got a lot of fireplaces that can help you for your romantic evenings. Wood, gas, electric, and a ton of different sizes, man. Call Hearth and Patio today, 850-727-4282, or visit them online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth and Patio. Ignite that spark in your life.
AC and electric is what we do. Service, repairs, and installation too. 222-7722. Parker Services. Comfort just a call away.
Invest in a Peak Performance membership and you'll buy peace of mind in knowing that you're extending the life of your system and probably saving money on your power bill too. The program includes comprehensive tune-ups that keep your system running at its maximum efficiency. And Peak Performance members get many benefits, including priority service. Members jump to the front of the line when their comfort system fails, and a 15% discount on all parts. The Peak Performance membership pays for itself over and over again. Call today and have peace of mind. And Parker's is now offering electrical services too.
Parker Services. Comfort just a call away.
Florida license number CMC 050334.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff.
Q&A brought to you by the Battles Inn. On the Renegade boards, the questions were asked. If you're a gold member, you get to do that. And there will be a series of these types of Q&As. Not going to play the whole thing here. It was about 20 minutes long, Tom, that we talked to. Is there? I think it is 20 minutes.
That was the initial conversation, including your back and forth before we started. So yeah, we'll see what the final number comes out as.
Probably about 14, 15 minutes, which is a good chunk and a great opportunity to get to know somebody. This is something that excited both you and me, and I said to him at the time it would excite our listeners and excite our subscribers. People love to know about incoming talent and where they're at, how close they are to maybe being able to contribute, but also kind of hit the ground running. And a lot of that has to do with the acclimation period. Whether you're a true freshman or a transfer portal guy, there's adjustments to make, as there is with anybody that takes on, say, a new job or moves to a new city. And the faster it can happen, the faster they can get on the field. It's particularly difficult for freshmen. If you think about what your life was like as a freshman for all of us, and the first time you ever went away to attend college, say you left the city that you were born and raised in, and you traveled afar and then took on other responsibilities. It's hard. It's difficult. It's the first time you're ever out on your own. So you don't know what to expect from freshmen when they come into a football program, because there's the physical part, there's the emotional part, there's the maturity part, there's all of that. You get excited when you find out that some guys, as observed by, in this case, Azareye'h Thomas, guys seemingly come in, hit the ground running. We've got a few names that people will know. Here you go. This is from my conversation earlier today with Azareye'h Thomas. And which of the incoming players, either high school or transfer, are you most looking forward to playing with this season?
Actually, I have 3.
Okay.
I got Kai Bates, Charles, and Track. Them three, just seeing them work, I'm just like, them boys got it. You could tell when like freshmen come in, like they just do the workouts and they just get through it and they just trying to survive. They actually attack the workouts and they actually listen to detail and apply it and want to get extra work and text in the group chat like, yeah, I'm coming. Like I'll be there. You don't really see that from freshmen a lot of times because and I'm not knocking any freshmen that want to get acclimated and stuff like that, but usually you see with freshmen, they try to come in and try to like just learn the steps to everything and just trying to ease their way in, which is fine. Everybody got their own way and their own process of doing stuff. So if you do that, then that's fine with you. But just seeing them boys just do that and just seeing how they come in to work and they actually want to learn, they actually want to apply what they learn as well is very rare. You see that nowadays with freshmen. So
yeah, that's a fun answer to hear. It was cool to hear what he said in the moment that he said it this morning, because those are guys that the fan base got to know in recruiting because of their high profile status and what they brought to the table, what they were as recruits, and certainly what we thought they might be physically. So to hear them described from a veteran player as guys that attacked the workout and they weren't really getting bogged down with acclimation, but rather hit the ground running, utilize the principles they're being taught, the different types of workouts to have the strength and the stamina to do those things. They're not hard. I mean, they're not easy. They're very hard. In fact, tour of duty stuff is pretty brutal. That's encouraging, Tom.
It is. These are guys, too, that have the size to play right away. Yeah. So you get excited about that because I talked about it last week. You know, these are 3 interviews when you're doing the interviews with Kai Bates and Charles Lester, Jamari Howard, where respectively, they're 6'2", 6'2", 6'1". I think I might have it backwards for Charles and Jamari, but they're over 6 feet tall. These are modern defensive backs, and we saw that last year. Like Azareye'h was the first to come in as an individual, and he said, well, that looks like what we should be bringing in at this position group.
Correct.
But last year, across the board, the entire class that came in last season, we saw them early enrollees and in fall camp. Everybody from Conrad Hussey all the way down to Edwin Joseph, everywhere in between. Like KJ Kirkland almost looks like a hybrid safety linebacker. Quindarius Jones is rangy and smooth. This next wave, again, is rated that highly. They are sized out when they got to campus in Florida State, listed their heights and their weights to be the modern size. So if you're telling me that they've got a work ethic that's ahead of their years and they've got a size that is on par with what is necessary to succeed right now in college football, then yeah, man, this spring camp, who knows? If they can handle the on-the-field part, they're doing the mental part and they've already got the physical traits. If they can handle the on-the-field part and the speed, who knows? You might have a couple of these freshmen in the rotation this year.
It's a very difficult thing to do. To come to a college, well, look, I never played at Florida State. I can't imagine. Little old ETSU. It was overwhelming there. I can only imagine what it's like to come to a place like this with athletes of this caliber everywhere you look. It's got to be overwhelming. It's impressive if that's the case, if that's what they've got. But we talk about it all the time when you're working with, we call it better clay. When you've got freaky athletes that you're winning their services for, right? You're getting those kinds of players. The opportunity for guys to come in and wow you right off the bat exists because you're not taking a bunch of 2 and 3 stars that you got to develop and takes years. You're talking about a guy that could come in and really maybe physically already be there if they grasp the mental part and they have the maturity. That's easy to talk about and to say because you look at a guy and you see him and you think, well, he's 6'2", he's got arms for days. He can really run. He's got a great vert. His technique seems to be good. Wherever he played high school, they must have had good coaching. He was a 4-star or 5-star kid. He should be able to play. But that maturity part and then the understanding the complexities of a college defense, it's usually, in high school, if you're a great player, you play both ways for starters because you can. And secondly, you really don't have to know a ton. It's I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm faster, I'm going to go do what I want to do, and there's not a lot you can do to stop me. But that is not true. It's a rude awakening for kids that come to a place like FSU and play big-time college football. So that's a positive review and assessment of these young guys coming in from a guy who's been there, done that, had to, figure it out, and is going into his junior year.
It's also another reminder, like this has already passed you by and me by. In this sense, we're the same. It's binary. You're either young or you're too old. We're too old for sports, especially at this level. But how quickly time passes. No, I'm just saying, like, how quickly time passes that Azarie is now a veteran in the group. Like, dude, it was 23 months ago that we were talking about this up-and-coming early enrollee, true freshman. And you're like, man, he does sound the part of veteran, he himself. I know he's wearing 8 this year. I want to call him 20. But he's going to wear number 8 this season.
I love that he's wearing 8 because he looks like Jalen Ramsey in terms of length and the smoothness with which he uses that size and runs. It makes sense.
And that's somebody, spoiler alert, that he looks up to. In terms of playing.
Sure.
And it was somebody that on screen, this is why it's important that you have more than one 10-win season since 2005. Miami. Hello, Miami. 1 since 2005. When you have more of those in recent history, a guy like Azarie can watch Jalen Ramsey in Florida State colors saying, I want to be that player, because they can remember those things. Whereas, if you're 16, 17 years old right now, you really got to think very hard to find an example. And chances are you can't. Your grandfather has to put in a VCR tape in order to find something of substance with Miami players.
No, you got to dust it off. If anybody still has a VCR.
Yep.
I actually do have a VCR as an aside. It sits in the corner of the master bedroom for no reason. It's been sitting there with the cord wrapped around it for something like 13 years. And I have looked over at it numerous times and said, I need to get rid of that thing. It's worthless. But I haven't, because I want to go back and look at a number of commercials that I shot years ago on video for the Jeff Cameron Show while I was still at Clear Channel, way back when it was Clear Channel and not iHeart. And if I throw that out, I feel like I'll never get the chance. But the reality is, Tom, like Miami, I'll never do that. I'll never have the opportunity to truly succeed in sitting down and setting up the old VCR and watching those videotapes, because I just never think to do it unless we're having this conversation about how nobody uses a VCR anymore. And Miami doesn't go back and watch those titles. They don't. Those fans don't. And if you're a kid playing high school football, you can't recall a Miami team winning anything. Certainly not an ACC title, because it's never been done. It's never been done.
Not a single time. You can digitize those VCR tapes. If you do that, then maybe we could get some of that old footage and use it just for fun here on this particular show.
Every time I've thought to digitize, then I've thought, I need to do it. I need to stop procrastinating.
Just hire a director. Have director do it. It's like, here you go. Figure it out. Here's $50.
Well, I mean, there's stores everywhere. When I was driving down Capitol Circle, and there was one like, we've digitized VHS tapes here.
Right. You've seen that, but you're not going to drive there. That's what I'm saying. Just pay the lad, and the lad will drive there and do it.
Maybe now this is going to force me to do it. I've brought it to people's attention, so I should be able to, I should do it now.
Well, I mean, there are apricots and chairman rugs.
Yeah.
You got to, I mean, that's first. That's the first thing. Now, I don't know if you want to do a spring blessing, as the weather turns in Florida for spring practice, you could do a spring blessing on the rug. But that is overdue. That is woefully overdue.
We got to go to break, but before we do, I was, one of the problems, one of the many problems with aging is that through no fault of your own, you're not nearly as limber as you were. We all know this. Like, you watch a baby or a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old run around, right? They can practically, they're all double jointed. They fall in certain ways. And when you see them fall, you think, well, I would die. I would die if I felt like that. Every bone in my body would be broken, or at least I would have ripped every ligament or whatever. So I'm trying to find ways to be more limber. In addition to using Orange Theory and working out with weights and doing those things to try to stay healthy, I want to be more limber, Tom. And so I found this video of this guy. It's talking about his routine and showing you how you could do this exercise every morning to loosen up and all that. Man, just watching this guy grab his leg and do this hip thing this morning, I about cried. It looked like the most painful thing I have ever seen somebody do. He was picking up his leg, pulling up above like by his chest and just yanking the hip sideways like, no, see, this is what you got to do. I'm like, I can't get in that position. How am I supposed to do your routine? I can't get in the position that you're in. This is gonna be a lifelong, for the rest of my life anyhow, problem, I have a feeling.
Just don't be afraid and don't be too proud to use the blocks like they do in the yoga studios. They use the blocks, the blocks. Some of them even have chairs. Like, well, if you're just too old, you could sit in a chair and then pull your leg up and do it this way. Like the rest of us will be on the floor, but you can use the chair. Don't be afraid to use the props.
Yeah, my problem is I'm going to need blocks that are the size of big screen televisions. I'm going to need blocks that that come up to my waist.
Do you still have your old television? That's one down. You could just put your arm on that.
I do. I'll get it done. It'll happen. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
News now.
More than 44,000 people die from cancer across Florida every year. Now, to try and bring that number down, state agencies are partnering up with doctors and cancer centers with a Cancer Connect collaborative. The First Lady, Casey DeSantis, launched the Cancer Connect collaborative Tuesday. It's a partnership with the Florida Department of Health, the Agency for Healthcare Administration, researchers, and cancer centers. Last year, the state legislature invested $190 million in cancer research, and $20 million of that went to the Florida Cancer Innovation Fund, which is used for grants to fund research. The collaborative has 5 main goals, which include collecting data about the diagnosis and treatments of cancer, finding best practices for treatment, innovation, increasing cancer research funding, and being honest about everything known about cancer. Governor DeSantis is asking the legislature to include more than $232 million for cancer research in the next budget. Florida is one of the first states to collect population-level cancer data. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 72. Winds out of the southwest, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 45, with fog in spots tonight. Mainly cloudy skies expected. Daytime highs approaching 68, with fog early tomorrow, overcast. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 69 degrees.
Hey, Jimmy.
Yeah.
You got one of those new cars that keeps you in the lane when you're driving or slams on the brakes if you get too close to another car?
No, I don't like that fancy technology stuff.
A lot of people don't. It's called lane departure warning and forward collision alert. And all that fancy stuff is attached to your windshield. So if it gets damaged, you need a qualified company like Seminole Auto Glass to replace and recalibrate your windshield. But don't call your insurance company. Just go to SeminoleAutoGlass.com and upload your insurance card. Hey, Jimmy.
What?
Did you know that Teslas come with a unique new car smell? They call it Elon Musk. Better call Seminole.
So everybody knows, Eddie, that you are a spectacular cook. Of course they know that. If they go into Bumpa's, the food is always good. I mean, everything on the menu. Everything at Gordo's is delicious. I always, of course, get the bungalow chungla, as I call it.
The bungalow chung, Jeff?
Is that what is the pork?
The bungalow chung, Jeff.
Okay, the bungalow chungla. It's delicious. All of these things, all the items, everything you do, a master cook. But, sir, I would ask you, what is a skill that you possess that you're particularly proud of that nobody would know and that you could share with us here?
Growing hair, Jeff. Growing hair.
You're an asshole. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com.
baseball soon also because a little spring training video montage that I watched this morning as guys are getting their workouts in. P. Simpson writes, Jeff, in the spirit of Redemption Thursday, the start of college baseball season, might I suggest taking a look at Northeastern at plus 135 tomorrow against Arizona. P. Simpson, as always, I love where your head is at. Perhaps some pizza money will be sprinkled on Northeastern to pull off, I guess, the mild upset as we start college baseball anew tomorrow. How about that? It begins. And I'll add that I'm wise enough to know you can't get down $100,000 on Northeastern at plus 135. Probably can't get down $50,000 on Northeastern, even if you show them your cell phone, even if you tell them the coaches let you know who's in and who's out. They're not going to let you hoist that duffel bag up onto the counter and say, put it all, let it ride on Northeastern at plus 135. That limit, as we found out, oddly, it was more than I thought it could be. They were willing to take ever so briefly before they realized what was going down. 15,000 on a college baseball game. That was a stunning turn of events. That was really more notable than the story itself, was that somebody was willing to take 15 grand on a college baseball game.
That's good to know. Hey, that's good information. Just in case the need ever arises, that 15 G's. If you ever felt very comfortable, hey, even 500, you're like, hey, Cam Leiter's going to shove tonight. I know Cam Leiter's going to shove. So here we go. Here's a little pizza money, maybe an order for the family during the holidays amount of pizza money that I'm going to put on Cam Leiter and the Noles tonight.
Well, and the reason Tom just brought up Cam Leiter is that the 6'5" sophomore right-hander is going to be the Friday night ace, at least to start. That was confirmed yesterday by Link Jarrett, now in his second year. He's looking to obviously to rebound. He's going to have to ride the arm of Jarrett to do so. That young man has 4 pitches that he throws for strikes, a very lively fastball, as he put it, and a guy who's a fiery competitor. It will be nice. We were so crestfallen so frequently on the mound. How many games could you stomach to watch, I should ask, but how many times did you watch and see a kid whose shoulders were slumped, whose attitude was poor, who was in the midst of another bad start, and one in which you realized yet again that if this team was going to win tonight, they were going to have to score 10. Let's just hope that is no longer the case when we tune in on Friday nights. Either, last year they had injury issues and other stuff, but a lot of, I think, additions here. It will take some getting used to for Florida State fans who watched this team a year ago to familiarize themselves with a roster that has seen an influx of more players to it than at any point in any time that I've ever watched in any sport. It's unreal how many new players. And you can do that in this era. And we talk about the good and the bad of the transfer portal. Most of the time we're talking about it in light of college football and what that means to a coach and what that means to your chances of getting something turned around or holding on to your better players or fighting off people. But when you're on the wrong side of it, and Link was on the wrong side of it, and you have to find a way to win games at a prestigious program, one in which you start and you know what the standard is, and you go out there and, unfortunately, in year one, have the worst record we've ever seen here, there's a lot of pressure there. And so he utilized said portal, and he's brought in a ton of players, offensively and defensively. You've got a lot of new faces out there, some of whose numbers you could all check for yourself. They were pretty good. These are players that are on the rise that you would think are about to kind of come into their own in many cases, Leiter being chief amongst them.
Yeah, just looking at the beginning of the schedule here from now until March 1st, there's only one road game. That's the way it usually is because you have some northern teams making their way down, but Butler is this weekend, Western Carolina. The one road game is at Jacksonville. That's midweek next week, and that's the annual Matt Millar Panic Classic against the Jacksonville Dolphins. But you got a chance early on to rack up some wins and some confidence because, again, your series are against Butler, Western Carolina, and then there's Jacksonville and South Florida. These are the teams that you're playing before you get into the month of March. Let's see if they can make a little bit of noise. Get the confidence going because that's going to be a big part of the equation, especially in baseball. I think the lineup's going to be okay, especially the top half of the lineup's going to be okay. But if you can make some big pitches and some big spots and get some outs in the 4th inning and the 5th inning when there's 2 on, 1 out, you get a double play ball, something along those lines, and it gets contagious, you never know what this could turn into. But as you said, because of the turnover, this is a grand mystery. They're going to be better than last year, but just how much better, it's really, really hard to say.
It is. It's really hard. I know that a lot of our frustration, and this goes back a ways. It wasn't just last year. It was the year before and the year before and the year before. We had some issues with some fundamental things. I think that fans can deal with really any kind of a rebuild to some degree. What they don't do well with is when you're in the midst of rebuilding and you don't help yourself by doing the simple things that all college baseball players or pro baseball players are asked to do, consistently well. You got to play hard. You got to pick up the ball. You got to be able to run the bases. You got to compete. And when you're going through a rebuild and you're struggling and then you don't do those little things and give yourself a fighting chance to win a game, it's impossible to really invest. I felt like collectively Florida State baseball fans completely checked out of last year's season. I've never seen it before. I've been on the air here now for 25 plus years, and I've never had a season, not even one that they were unhappy with, like a couple of years ago, where people just stopped going or caring or watching in any way. People know I'm passionate about baseball, and I go out and about and I see people, and it's always fun to talk it up. And I don't know, about midway through last year, Tom, nary a person, as I like to say, rolled up to me at any point talking about Florida State baseball. They were done. They were out. That was it. They'd washed their hands of Florida State baseball.
Yeah, you had a couple of weeks of excitement, and then that was it. That was all. And it gets to softball.
The TCU series. You had the TCU series. That's it. That's all.
Exactly. And there was a good win late at Jacksonville. I remember watching that on whatever local web stream they had there for JU. And it was chaotic, but I'm pretty sure we closed the deal and we won that game. And then the 2 out of 3 at TCU. And within a week or two, you kind of realized, that's about as good as it's going to get this season. But what it also shows is the meteoric rise of softball, especially within the Tallahassee community, because those season tickets are sold out in a blink. They've expanded what they're doing down the third baseline, the left field line with the party deck out there. It's getting bigger and bigger as every year goes along. And now this week they're going down to Clearwater to play in that elite tournament. Today's first game is 4:00 against Stanford. But to your point, like when you would have a conversation about secondary level sports, as in non-football sports, like that's the one that would come up. Baseball never came up. It was about, all right, well, what's softball going to do? How far are they going to go? Are they going to get to Oklahoma City? And thankfully we have that, because in the last 5 years, the popularity of softball has gone way, way up.
Should mention, and I'll touch on it here in a few minutes. We'll take a quick break, but I don't know. You saw SP Plus rankings are out. Florida State in the top 15 there. There's some other college football news to scrape through and get us by on a Redemption Thursday. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Paul's Termite and Pest Control, we know if you have something in your home that's not supposed to be there, you want it gone now.
Not in a couple of days, not tomorrow, but today. That's why we offer a same-day guarantee.
If you call Paul's before 12, one of our technicians will be out before 5. We guarantee it.
The health of you, your family, and your pets is why we promise to do everything possible to quickly resolve your problem.
And we do so using the safest chemicals. Notice a pest problem?
Call Paul's Termite and Pest Control before 12, and we're there before 5.
Call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
Paul's Termite and Pest Control has been treating termites from the exterior of your home for about 25 years.
Paul's was the first to introduce the Centricon termite colony elimination system to North Florida and is the leader of this non-invasive treatment.
Instead of dumping gallons and gallons of harsh chemicals into our soil, Centricon uses environmentally sensitive treatments loaded in bait stations.
These stations are strategically placed around the home. If termites are present, they feed, take it back to the colony, which is shortly destroyed.
To learn more about Centricon
and a free consultation too,
call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
Excellence defines us, so we'll never let orthopedic pain and injury define you. TOC is a physician-led team of fellowship-trained specialists providing the highest level of orthopedic care in the region. With 12 centers of excellence and TOC Now urgent care clinics, our patients access affordable, expert care fast. TOC, only experts. Schedule an appointment at teamtoc.com.
Widden Glass has been taking care of business since 1945. When you call Widden Glass, you're dealing with experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best. Like Widden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures that provide style and luxury at an affordable price. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Wooden Glass. We'll help you design it and install it. Wooden Glass, the first name in glass replacement. Call 222-5781.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool. You can put him to the test.
Your heating and air conditioning system doesn't check with you before it takes a break. That's why we're always ready to help. Any day, anytime, anywhere. And with our annual service agreement, there are no overtime charges. Ever. At Verno Heating and Air, we will always be there for you.
Barry knows heating and air conditioning.
License CEC 1816186.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff.
SEC is likely, of course, staying with an 8-game football schedule for the 2025 season. But it looks like that's going to be the final year before going to 9 games. That came out because of Texas Athletic Director Chris Del Conte, who was speaking at a town hall event earlier this week. I think it was Tuesday. And he said, kind of let the cat out of the bag. We have 8 games scheduled right now. We're working on going to a 9-game schedule, but we have a ways to go with that. I would say this year we have 8. The following year we have another 8-game schedule maybe. Then we'll look to get into a 9-game conference schedule from there. First of all, the news there is that they're sticking with 8 for the 2025 season, and there's no confirmation or anything like that just yet. But indications are the SEC does not want to have its annual meetings in Destin. This may be dominated by a debate about the future of the scheduling format. And the conference could announce well before that it's going with an 8-game schedule for this upcoming year in 2025, but then doing something different for 26 and beyond. That affects perhaps the larger discussion of realignment, Tom, and where we're going, where this is headed.
There are too many conversations that are taking place separately for them not to be related in some way, shape, or form.
Correct.
And you've got conversations happening between network executives at ESPN and Fox and CBS.
Which we documented earlier this week. Yep.
And you've got more, with the Turner Group, which is Warner Sports, Turner Sports. So that's one thing that's going on. You got conference commissioners talking to each other at the level of the SEC and the Big Ten, the Big Two. So these are the proxies of the networks, but they're having conversations. Then you're having conversations apparently behind the scenes if you're the SEC of expanding your inventory. And that's what this is. This isn't about, going into an island. It's about expanding your inventory to make yourself more valuable to your television network partner.
Correct.
Yeah, man, this is all one big related discussion. And I hate to be the broken record here, but in 5 years from now, what we're watching, how we're consuming it, what it is, what it's called, how it's laid out, it's just going to be so different. We are watching this. It's been painstakingly slow. Sometimes in the dead of night, you get announcements in July that Texas and Oklahoma are going to leave, or UCLA is considering to go with USC to the Big Ten. And then remember the big meeting last summer with Oregon's not going to leave, so therefore the Pac-12 is staying together. Like, nope, they are.
They're riding the hell out. Yeah,
they're riding out. So is Washington. This thing's broken. It's all completely done. Like, those summer conversations are going away soon because there's one more twist coming. And I think the last part of it is with the NCAA itself. What does the NCAA govern? How much do they govern? And how much is college football in its own world? All of this is going to change. And by the time I think the football-only facility is open, we're going to know, and I'm talking not stadium changes, but the football-only facility is open and done, and it looks all nice and pretty. we'll probably know a lot of what these answers are that we're waiting to get. But I mean, I think we're going to get news drops like this consistently over the next 6 months where there's just these little details come out and you're starting to put the pieces together.
I love it. I love it. Let's go. Let's expedite the process. And that's us too, right? Let's get on with the getting. Sooner we can get the heck up out of here and we can find out what the future holds, then the better off we are, obviously, financially, to be a part of all of that. And I do believe Florida State will be. I don't know if it ends up being the Big Ten or the SEC, but I think it'll be one of those two because Fox and ESPN are fighting over assets. And so I believe Florida State to be a very, very, very valuable asset. So hang on to your butts. Here we go. It's all happening. It's a lot of fun. I would also note SP Plus. This is not the same as preseason rankings. He looks at Connolly looks at 3 factors when doing this for ESPN.com. Their primary factors, it's weighted by their predictiveness. If you didn't know, returning production, which is a pretty big deal. Recent recruiting, that's always a big deal. And then recent history. How did you do? You know, how well did you play in any given year from year to year and all of those things. So Florida State came in at 12th on those rankings. It was just a couple of years ago. You needed binoculars to find Florida State on the SP Plus rankings. I just bring it up because I bring it up this time of year every year when he releases them. We've gone from off the scale, can't find us, don't know where we are, to 12th. Doesn't mean we're the 12th best team. Doesn't mean that we are. It just or not. It shows you how Florida State continues to climb in those rankings. They're ahead of Texas A&M and Oklahoma and Clemson and Utah and Tennessee and programs that have had some success. They are behind Missouri, LSU, Notre Dame, Ole Miss, Penn State, Alabama, Michigan, Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, and, of course, Georgia remains number 1 on that list. In that sense, it has been predictive. You might ask the question, where are our rivals? Well, just as we were off the charts and couldn't be found in SP Plus a few years ago, or after much unfortunate scrolling, you could be found. That's where we find Florida, who continues to fall in these rankings. And Miami sits at 21, well back of where Florida State is, despite having a couple of years that they can be happy about with recruiting. Florida is 33rd, Tom, in case you didn't know. They are 33rd. Florida is behind Virginia Tech. Florida is behind SMU. Florida is behind Iowa. Florida is behind Auburn. Florida is behind Iowa State. Florida is behind Arizona. Florida, there's a lot here, Tom. There's a lot. I think they'll only continue to fall.
Ooh. Well, Arizona and Virginia Tech, I think, probably hurt the worst, even more than SMU. SMU's got something going right now. That's going to be an interesting football game for us in September.
I agree.
It's going to be an interesting one. But Virginia Tech, ooh, boy.
Yeah.
This ain't 2006, man.
No, it's been a minute.
Well, they won the title in 2006, so even 06 wasn't 06 for this discussion. That is.
I thought the same thing. That's why I said Virginia Tech. I said it loudly.
This isn't 2003. There you go, because that was Ron Zook. That was the Ron Zook era. This isn't 03. So that's pretty painful, but we like that. It's a lag effect there. Hopefully now Florida State we're in that top 5 discussion moving forward pretty soon.
Well, you have another 10-plus win season here, and I think you'll be moving into the top 7, certainly. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Local on Real Talk 93.3 WVFT, Gretna, Tallahassee. The latest betting odds and live movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
Tampa Bay Lightning have won 17 of their 25 games at Amalie Arena this season. They're a $1.18 favorite against the Avalanche today, minus 102, 6.5 over the total. NASCAR season kicks off Sunday, the Daytona 500, the front row. Pole sitter Joey Logano, 181.947 miles per hour. Michael McDowell will start at the outside of row 1. Joey Logano 14-1 to win the Great American Race. McDowell 28-1. Scotty Scheffler 6-1 to win the Genesis Invitational this week at the Riviera. Rory McIlroy 10-1. Victor Hovland 14-1. Get your free VSiN subscription right now at VSIN.com. For more sports betting news and information, go to VSIN.com. Mike Son at Real Talk 93.3.
Hey, what are you doing up on the step stool?
About to clean these light fixtures. The whole family's coming over. And if there's even a speck of dust in the house, my abuela will find it.
Here, I got a Swiffer duster to help with that.
A Swiffer what?
A Swiffer duster. It has this cool extendable handle that reaches 6 feet to get high and low, with fluffy dusters that easily trap and lock dust.
So no more step stool?
No more step stool.
Easily trap and lock dust from hard to reach places with the Swiffer duster. Love it or your money back.
Progressive asks, what do a middle school slumber party,
Let's stay up all night. Yeah.
a sleep-deprived girl, an early morning paper route, and a poorly thrown rolled-up newspaper have in common?
Hey, my window!
They can become a fast-breaking news story.
Sorry, Mr. Thompson.
Bundle your home and auto with Progressive for great savings and round-the-clock protection.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
If you've been waiting and waiting for the perfect time to buy your new house, you'll be waiting forever. This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, and I have been a mortgage lender for over 20 years. And I can tell you that there is no such thing as perfect timing. So take the first step towards your new home and let me show you what that really looks like. Chances are very high that you'll be very surprised at what I can help you do. When rates go low, prices go high, and that home that you've been eyeballing could be gone. If you're wondering how the drop in interest rates is going to affect your payment, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to show you all of the options available to get you into your new home. And for every single loan that we close for a fellow Knoll, I will personally donate $250 per closing to the Battle's End. Let's do this together and let's keep climbing. Call me today at 954-369-6171. That's 954-369-6171. Or you can find me online at loansforknolls.com. That's loansforknolls.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 373031.
From the front lines of the fight against socialism, it's America in View.
That America is under its
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4,
that I think about. Tom, it would make me old immediately, and it would be a weird thing, so I don't do it, but I'll do it today. What's the weather like in New York, buddy?
It is chilly-ish. It's the wind. So I think today it's getting up to 40, but the wind is keeping the chill down around 28, 30 degrees. So a little bit of a front. I'm looking out the backyard right now. There's still a good pile of snow from Monday's snow event and ice. This is, again, I said yesterday, you do the calculations differently when you get older. When you're young, if you're bundled up the way kids are with these Michelin
Walk out
tickets,
boldly. Yeah.
man, if I slip and fall, who cares? That's awesome. Now it's, whoa, that could be a 3-footer. That's a problem. So
that could be a torn ACL is what that could be.
Yesterday, overnight, actually, there were wind gusts over 45 miles an hour up here, man. It was
every damn day with you guys up there. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, we're right on the water, so that'll do it.
Wind swept, yeah. I just was kind of curious. And then here's something else I was curious about, because we're the first generation, mine was, that grew up playing video games. So if you're my age, you grew up in all likelihood playing video games. In fact, if you're slightly older than me, I'm 52 for those wondering. If you are, say, 60, you probably did not. You probably did not. And in many ways, if we had a larger discussion, you would say that's a good thing. And I don't necessarily agree or disagree with that. I could see both sides of it. But what is true is that if you're my age, you got to play that first Atari 2600. Hell, we had Pong, Tom. We had Pong. We had Pong, and it was awesome. And when you look at it now, you're like, how did anybody ever think this was awesome? But we did. Duke. This is incredible. Duke. Look, I turn the wheel and it moves. Duke. That's what we did. We did that, and we thought it was awesome. I can't believe, what kind of world are we going to live in? Anyhow, so that happened with Pong. Then Atari 2600, I can remember the craze for the Atari 2600. I can remember begging my stepdad. This is how ungrateful I was. All little kids are, all of them, incredibly ungrateful. They all want to be smacked. It's unreal how ungrateful they are. Money grows on trees. You hear your parents say it, right? It's like that's the whole thing. But I was one of them. And I once said to my stepdad, can we get the Atari 2600 when it comes out? Can we get it the day it comes out? I don't think we need to wait. He's like, I don't know how we can get it. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe we can. Maybe we can't. It's very expensive, son. We'll see. And I would say, and I did say, you're an attorney. You can afford the Atari 2600 more than everybody else can, other than doctors. You better be in that line to get the Atari 2600. Now, how ridiculous of a kid. He should have smacked me, but he didn't, and he was in that line, and we got our Atari 2600. Not because of what I demanded, Tom, just because I think he was curious like everybody else, and he could afford it, so we got it. And then, you wanted to play Pac-Man. Damn it, you had to play Pac-Man. And that version of Pac-Man was awful. It was awful, but we thought it was the greatest thing ever. The damn dots went through the top of its head. It was annoying as hell, like that was just now. It was incredible.
That either sounded like the Martians and Mars Attacks perfectly, or it sounded like Louis Anderson perfectly.
I had it. So, yeah.
And now I'm wondering if the Mars Attacks Martians were voiced by Louis Anderson.
Louis Anderson. So we got it, and then we had Pac-Man, and then later on, my favorite game of all time is one that very few people played. I think it was made by Activision. It was a downhill skiing game, and you had to take a picture of your sorry-ass screen because we didn't know it, but televisions were terrible back then, and we would take pictures of our screen if we got certain times, and you send it off to Activision, and they would send you a patch back, and we would check the mail every day to see if the patch had come, because if you got a gold medal, then you could tell your brother that he sucked and you were awesome and you had a gold medal. And we put the patch in the console holder, which my stepdad built in the garage, which is this wooden box, because he wanted it to be clean and he didn't want the Atari 2600 strewn about the floor. So here's the thing. Why am I bringing any of this up? You're saying, what the hell is he talking about? Did you see the reveal? Were you tuned in? Did you watch EA Sports College Football 25 official trailer? The full reveal will be in May, by the way, but the Twitter account of EA Sports College wrote, yeah, it's really happening. Exclamation point. Coming this summer, full reveal in May, and then you could watch a little trailer. And I thought to myself, because I was raised playing video games, here I sit all this time later at 52, father of a 16-year-old son and a soon-to-be 14-year-old son, and I am giddy like a little schoolgirl. I am sitting there watching that preview going, look at it. It's beautiful. I can't believe it's real. It's going to happen.
And most of it is just kind of like showing their behind the scenes designs of stuff that they're going to use. Like, they're showing the 3D grid of stadiums and statues and mascots. And then they're showing you 3 or 4 uniforms that they got ready to go. One of which is Florida State's roadie uniform, which is a part of that reveal. I can tell you that, yeah, I'm pretty pumped for this. I hope that the engine for the game, this is what they call it, but the engine for the game is smooth, because the college engine, some would say that it was always just Madden's from the year prior. Like they would just toss the old one at NCAA and say, okay, here you go. Man, I'm telling you, read options, option pitches, triple options,
right,
so much smoother in NCAA football, as it was called at the time, more than it was Madden. So here's hoping that they can still capture that, because if they can, we're in business. I will tell you as well, I'm excited enough that I've started delving into a little bit of Madden from a couple of years ago to start building my offense. I want to get my philosophies and I want to get going with the modern engines. I just want to see how these games play. Does the read option work a little bit differently? Man, I haven't played Madden in 2 or 3 years, and the one that I got, I hardly played in the first place. But I'm starting to build the philosophies of how I want my program to look. I'm ready to go for this. Yes.
It's funny because therein lies the rub. That's the whole thing. Because we're past, you said it last hour, we're too old to play football at an elite level. We all know it. P. Simpson, that's well done. As giddy as Kirk Herbstreit watching Alabama beat a 5-win Auburn team.
My God.
What a celebration that day.
Did he go to school there? Did I miss something?
Oh, yeah, they were jumping around the booth, weren't they?
In retrospect, that's an interesting look. It's a very...
Well, if in fact it was just because it was a crazy ending, he must hate that video's out there, because he knows how it looks. He has to, In fact, I think they both knew how it looked, because Fowler almost immediately, the first chance he got, said, we're like you guys, we're college football fans, and we were watching just before coming on that inning. We couldn't believe our eyes. He was trying to get out in front of what he knew was going to be the question, like, what's going on over here? Why are those two guys so damn happy about that play? That certainly didn't feel objective.
Yeah. Here's why. Because they knew that Nick Saban would be joining the ESPN family the next year, and they're happy for their colleague. They're happy.
I said that right away. I was like, look, we can see where this is going. I mean, that rumor was out there before the football season began, that he was going to be walking away. And, let's be honest, it's been tough for Lee. I think they needed a graceful way to kind of maybe make that transition here soon. All right, back to what I thought, though, is that here we were watching this, and I thought it's just ridiculous. Here I'm as excited as every other 50-something-year-old man that just saw this preview, because we grew up playing these games. But what it allows you to do when you are too old to play the sports you once played is to pretend you are coaching currently with your little fantasy football team over here on a video game. So you do, in fact, Tom, cultivate your offense, and you address the team about what you want to run. In fact, you can tell them what you're going to wear for that particular game, your uniform combination, what tape, which players are allowed to wear tape on their ankles, which ones aren't. You have the shields or no shields. I had a rule for my team, Tom. When I talked to them before every game, I would let them know that we as middle linebackers are free to wear shields. It looks tough. You can have the tinted visor. It looks tough as a middle linebacker, but I don't want them reading your eyes. So if you're a running back, you too can wear it, because I don't want them reading your eyes. But if you are, an offensive lineman, you don't need that tinted visor. Toughen up. I don't care where your eyes go. If you're a wide receiver, I don't want you wearing it. I understand you might make an argument about the sun. I don't want to hear it. Make the catch. There are certain guys that could wear gloves, certain guys that wore high tops, certain guys that wore tape at different parts of their body. All of it. I have rules position by position. That's a Jeff Cameron coach team, Tom. You'll know it when we take the field. That's how it works.
Well, for me, it was more about the name of the recruit. I always loved when the new class was available because the names, the name generator that they had. I mean, now with AI generation, they can do all kinds of stuff. But in those days, man, there were just some names that the player is telling you who they are. So if you can get them to commit to you and that little football icon to go from red and mad to green and happy.
And I was, by the way, cheated and helped not to get caught. I was lavishing them with gifts. That's the way Coach Cameron does things around here. We're going to win some damn games.
Well, and if his name was tough, then he does get the visor. If his name was blue collar, he gets the neck roll. You know, it's about the nature of the name. If the kid's name was preppy as hell and he sounded like he was just teeing off with Charles Howell III, not so much. He might get the turtleneck and a long sleeve, and that's all, you know, maybe that's what he's getting. So it depended on the name of the kid and also the state of origin too. So if the
state of origin was big. I had a rule, Tom, that every player that was from the state of Nebraska that I recruited, they were allowed to wear a neck roll. In fact, I think they were required to on my team. If you're from Nebraska, anywhere in Nebraska, you wear the neck roll. That's just the rules. I don't make them. That's just how it works. Those have always been the rules.
If you were from New York or New Jersey, you got the armbands and no sleeves, but you wore like the sweatbands, like, because that's just something that's very like in back in the day. It's not now, Chief. I'm in the zone. You remember that video?
Yeah.
Jaeger bombs, whatever made him look like Jaeger bombs guy. That would be what I do for that particular player. But if you came from Louisiana, man, you don't need anything. Like if you're a D tackle out of Louisiana, there's nothing on you.
We are in agreement here. When I recruited the kids, the defensive tackles in particular, and especially from Louisiana, Tom, I told them, don't come in here asking for tape. Don't come in here asking for elbow pads like you're a little child. Don't come in here worried about bruises. You're a defensive tackle from the swamps of Louisiana. You'll kill people with your bare hands. There will be no tape.
And the small shoulder pads.
That's right.
Very small shoulder pads.
You just got to be a hoss. That's what you are.
Yep.
Just a hoss of a. You are out there living in the swamps, weren't you, son? Get out here. Let's go.
Do you remember the playbook that you ran on offense? The last time
I told you I was always Army. Coach Cameron doesn't like it easy. I would come in there and I would whip those. I'd whip up my ponies. We would get we'd get Army ready to go, and we're running the option. And I'm going to recruit I'm going to recruit you to run the option. It travels, cold weather. We're shortening games early on, Tom. We're shortening games around here, and we're going to be rugged in the trenches. We're going to be able to run the ball. I'm going to throw off of it. Now, I added a little bit more in the way of passing concepts to my option. I didn't want to be stifled against a bigger defensive line that was able to control the run game. Something just okay, we're back on. That was weird. I went off for a second. I didn't want that to happen, so I had elements of the passing game in there nicely, but it was perfect.
So for me, I was in the run and gun offense. I always like to have as many options spread out.
So we would have beat your ass, Tom.
You wouldn't have.
That sounds very finesse to me.
No, wouldn't have happened. No, there was enough in the eye. There was enough in the eye to get it to work. Now, what I'm experimenting with is the spread. But I'm using Director Matthews Eagles in Madden because good offensive line, power spread. That's what I want to be. Power spread. That's going to be a lot of fun to build. Because I might even use some gap concepts thanks to Coach Norvell. I'm liking some counter here, Coach. Let's see if we can run a little GT counter for that ass.
I love it. I love running counter. Miami doesn't like to see it. But, boy, I'll tell you what, I'll run it all day long on Miami.
They're like my wife, Donna. They do not like it.
The Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now. so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our used showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
This is Jamie McClenny with Trek Financial in Tallahassee. Despite the highest global interest rates in almost 2 decades, inverted yield curves, conflicts in the Middle East, and 3 of the largest bank failures in U.S. history, equities and bond markets have posted stellar returns for 2023. The Dow Jones, the NASDAQ 100, and the Russell 2000 all reached new highs as markets rallied on the expectations of Fed pauses, debt easing, and Fed bank bailouts. Markets are going to do what markets are going to do, but a clearly defined risk management protocol can help to mitigate large drawdowns in your retirement nest egg. If you're concerned where all this might be headed, call me at 850-900-5200 and let's talk about ways to mitigate the risk in your portfolio.
Make Jamie your first call for that second opinion. Investment advisory services offered through Trek Financial LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Zaxby's Sensation Salad is so much more than a plain old salad. It's a salad, which begs the question, at what point does a salad stop being a salad and become a salad? Is it when you add Zaxby's fried chicken to it? Crunchy wontons? Asian slaw? Citrus vinaigrette? Teriyaki glaze? Sweet and spicy sauce? Or is it when you top it all with a handmade perfectly fried egg roll? Without a doubt, the egg roll. The Sensation Salad, only at Zaxby's.
Hello, I'm Dave Brooks.
And I'm Jimmy Basic.
Traffic cameras are everywhere, providing valuable evidence if you've been in an accident.
But if you can't access that evidence, it could just be your word against theirs.
Basic Brooks is partnered with Roadproof to have access to all their traffic camera footage. If you've been hurt in an accident, give us a call and we'll find out if the proof you need is out there.
Let us find your video evidence so you can come back stronger. Call us now at 850-777-7777.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff.
For us to solve for the future, our friends at ISF, of course, and they know you want to do amazing things. You've got big visions and goals for the future, and you work hard to move your agency forward while navigating unique challenges, which are certainly inherent to government operations. It's a strategy firm, an IT strategy firm, in fact, is ISF for over 40 years now, serving state government and business clients, and they do it from right here in Tallahassee, across the nation. They've been involved with over 1,500 projects, and we love working and collaborating with our friends at ISF. making your life easier, more efficient, and helping others along the way. That's what they've done. We've documented by telling you that in specific instances in which agencies they've been involved with and helping streamline the process. Tom, San Francisco decided to solve for the future by firing their defensive coordinator today. Steve Wilks told to have a good one. That didn't take long. It was all of a year. Grand opening, grand closing. They weren't bad on defense for much of the year, began to wane towards the back end. I thought it was pretty funny, though, yesterday when he was asked about Wilks. Actually, that was 2 days ago. I love when coaches do this. He was asked about whether or not he'd be back for the upcoming season, and he said, that's stuff we're going to have to look at. That's stuff we're going to have to look at. You just fired him on the spot. You get asked a question about your DC after the Super Bowl, in which they played pretty well, and you go, that's something we're going to have to look at.
I think that's got to have a lot more to do with Green Bay and Detroit, those two games, than it does with the Super Bowl itself. That effort was valiant. If the offense bothered to do anything more in the first half, they would have been fine.
Completely agree. The press at the time described Shanahan's quote, "It's something we're going to have to look at," as non-committal. That's the best. I'd say. You think Steve was driving home and heard that audio clip and went, "Well, babe, start packing up. That's the end of this." He did go on to say after firing him that he thought that the defense was one of the reasons they got to the Super Bowl. He thought they had done a lot of good things in the game, but that Steve was not a good fit. So they regressed under Wilks. They were number one in EPA per play in 2022. That dropped to 12 this year. Their run defense went from number 2 in the league to number 26, Tom. That'll do it. I don't know. It's tough to win a Super Bowl if that's where you're at. And I think, everybody's different, but I know if I were coaching and I was an offensive mind and I had a defensive coordinator that I was trusting, one of my mandates without question would be you cannot be bad against the run ever. I know the game has moved to a passing game and that there's an emphasis on it. It's more efficient to throw the ball than it is to run it these days, especially with the rule changes. But at no point can we be near the bottom of the league in run defense because of the effect it has both on the offense, meaning you can't see the ball, and secondly, what it does to emasculate you as a team. It is very difficult to operate and push people around when you can't stop the run.
To me, that's more about philosophy, though. I don't know that this is a firing. Personnel in the NFL shifts so much year to year. Your rosters are so thin. And guys, if you get a couple of key injuries, you're just completely hamstrung, and you got to find a way to scratch and claw. But I think when you say 2 to 26, that is pretty dire. That's pretty drastic.
It's a
but
toughie.
I think head coaches, if they trust their coordinators, either side, if it's a defensive head coach with an offensive and vice versa, there's going to be variance in a given year with injury luck, the way the schedule lays out. You're built to be mediocre, contract negotiations, all that kind of stuff plays into it. That to me is about behind the scenes, because that non-committal quote was very committed to firing his defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So this was already going to happen before the Super Bowl was even played, be my guess.
Well, here's an indicator, Tom, of what you're saying, and I think it's certainly true. I've never read something like this about an interaction with a coach and an assistant coach and had it turn out okay at the end of the year in either college or pro. I'm sure there are examples. But midway through this season, the 49ers gave up a ton of yards in back-to-back games, I think it was, in performances against Kirk Cousins and also Joe Burrow. And at that point, Shanahan announced that Wilks would be taking his ass out of the booth and down onto the field. The days are numbered in that moment. In the moment, we're like, you know what, man? Come on down, because this isn't working. Well, we're done here. The reason you're not succeeding has nothing to do with him being up there.
Yeah. Well, and on the way out, if they say you're not a good fit, man, that's in corporate terms, that's as harsh as you can go without being, breaking the barriers of courtesy. Not a good fit is that's pretty damning. Which leads me to ask you a question, perhaps about the future with coordinators at Florida State. Who's in higher standing right now? The offensive coordinator or the defensive coordinator at Florida State?
Well, the offensive coordinator we know is, quote, Alex Atkins. Mike Norvell calls plays on game day. He is the mastermind behind the offense. So Mike's is well thought of. But if you're talking about Alex Atkins or Fuller, it is interesting, right? Did you ever think we'd be sitting here even debating it, even weighing the question for a minute about what's going well and what isn't? I think there is a greater discussion to be had about both gentlemen and what we would project long-term for Florida State in the next 4 to 6 years. Will either one of them be here?
4 to 6, assuming Mike Norvell is here for the
yes, assuming Mike Norvell is here as the head coach at Florida State, will Alex Atkins and Adam Fuller be here 4 years from right now?
No, neither will be here. And I think that's probably normal coaching turnover too.
Yeah, but that's not why you said it.
But it is. Yeah, I think now if you were to play the game of who's more likely to be here in 4 years' time, Atkins. I think Atkins would be more likely to be here in 4 years' time versus Fuller.
Well, I think it's an interesting discussion and debate, and people get emotional when you get into it because they think you're slighting people by saying that you think they'll move on. I think we could make a case if we wanted to. Both of us could. I could hand you the case for Fuller, and I could hand you the case for Atkins, and then you in turn could argue the other side very easily. I think there are question marks about both gentlemen, and it's a weird thing to say after the defensive effort you just saw from this past year. Now, again, I'm incorporating every aspect of what they do. So that includes recruiting. That includes recruiting big time. So they have work to do in certain areas that fall under the umbrella of your job as an OC or DC. And I'm not debating the schematics. I'm debating other aspects of what they're asked to do.
I think for Fuller, the reason we're having this discussion is because Fuller had a really good year, like a really good year. I don't think it's that Alex is failing and Fuller is now succeeding. I think that Fuller caught Alex and passed him this past year in terms of standing. This is where I'm coming from here, is that the defense had such a good year. Wow, look at that. They have some good players, and look at what they put together. You know, I thought they were hamstrung, and it was a little bit unfair 2 years ago to kill Adam Fuller for not having a defensive line. You know, like the lack of health in the defensive line, the lack of players in the defensive line did lead to some lapses across the board because you couldn't set things the way you wanted to set things. It was crazy to me this year that how out of nowhere, when you have a good defensive line, it seemed like our pressure packages got better. Well, where did that come from? And it wasn't just from the defensive back level, the linebacker level. We were surprising teams more. We were catching them off guard because they had to worry about dudes up front. I think that had to play into it a little bit. So he got the ingredients, and then he cooked up a pretty good defense last year. And if they made the playoff, I think it was a good enough defense to win the national championship. Right? With that field, that defense was good enough to win the national title. And that's saying something. Now, for Alex, what he's done on the other side, it's hard to know how they do in terms of game planning and sequencing and things like that. He continues to bring in dudes on the offensive line, but we have not seen that organic handoff, which is something he himself calls for. He says, and I quote, my favorite thing to do is bench old dudes for young dudes.
Right.
Well, here's another chance this season. Early, Armella, and some others.
Yeah, I'm waiting on that. I think there are little things to pick at here, and we always will when you're trying to win championships. You know, when you're trying to play for national titles and make college football playoffs and win conference titles and do those things, you have to be very, very forthright, honest with yourself as you self-scout as a head coach. You have to ask, are we getting everything we possibly can, both out of our players, but also in the world of recruiting? Obviously, Mike trusts them. He hired them. He believes in them. But I just think sometimes it's fair to ask questions. I think Alex took a step back in standing. I agree with you in terms of his overall reputation. there's still a kind of a wait and see here. Let's see what this year looks like, because last year the offensive line was disappointing. They also had some injuries. That is a fair thing to note. Defensively, I do think they were incredible late in the year. I occasionally think that we may overstate how good they were because they played a lot of bad offenses for a long stretch. So that aided some of the numbers that we see that are off the charts. It doesn't mean they weren't good. It doesn't mean they weren't good. It's just some of those numbers are mind-bogglingly good, and I don't know that we think that they were that good.
That's fair until the end of the season. What we saw was different. I mean, you can use your eyes and see that the front.
In the Louisville game, they dismantled that team, but that team could not block Florida State. That counts. It matters. You did what you're supposed to do when a team can't block you. I agree with that.
They blocked Kentucky fine. I mean, that's an SEC defensive line. They averaged whatever it was, 6 yards a play, 6.5, and they went for less than 3 in that game. And they had every incentive to win it. They only had the one loss at the time, or maybe 2. But they had every incentive to win it. It wasn't like this was we're just happy to be here. Like they were there to play. They were there to win.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that they were good. Florida State's defense was good. I just got done. My whole point was Louisville couldn't block them because those were good players. That's the point. They had good players and they played well. But most of the collection of offenses late, I don't think you would deny, were not good offenses.
No, I would not. I wouldn't deny that, but I would also say the first piece of evidence that we had last year was shutting out the Heisman Trophy winner in the second half. So,
that was awesome.
Fuller does have signature performances. Both of them, actually, the two best have come against LSU the last 2 seasons. But even 2 years ago, when they were beating up on bad offenses, which they did, again, that is a truth. How many backup quarterbacks did we play?
It's not like 6.
2 seasons ago. But in that stretch of 3 straight losses, and you could pin one, maybe 2 of the losses on some uneven play on defense. You go to NC State, you score 17 points, you're going to win that game. That game wasn't on the defense. When you look at it now as a 24-25 game picture, they dominate bad offenses the way they should. And they do have some moments that you can pin on the wall and say legitimate badassery here from the defense.
There's no doubt we've moved to a place where I no longer, I used to openly say I think they may end up having to move on from Fuller. I don't believe that right now. I think he's certainly earned his place here, and he's done very, very well. I think they have got to recruit better overall. Both guys do. And I also will tell you, Tom, that the LSU game so encapsulates, I think, the way the fan base views Fuller. They gave up 300 yards and a half. They were awful on defense to start that game. For a half, LSU moved the ball up and down the field. If they hadn't gotten some breaks in that game early, that could have been a very different looking game. But they did. And they made some of their own in the red zone.
Hell yeah, so they did. Yeah.
There's that. They bucked up, they bowed up, and they made some plays there. But you can't give up that amount of yardage in a first half of a football game. Now, I understand who is against. The second half is where they assert themselves in a way where you could point to the performance and say it's awesome. And in some ways, I think that is a perfect encapsulation of who they are. We know they can be very good, but I don't know that we always trust that they're going to be very good.
Right. But what you've seen is the better, this is the chicken or the egg discussion. The better the players are that we bring in, and this goes back to Bowden. It's players.
Yeah.
The better the players, he knows what to do with them. If he gets them, he knows what to do with them. And they have gotten better in a lot of areas. Maybe there are some that still stick out, and we talk about that at length because they're the sore thumb. We don't have 5 sore fingers anymore. There's one sore thumb, so we talk about that. But they stand up and they make big plays. The blitz, again, the pressures got better this year. There was the one pressure was the play of the season with Deloach, but there were 3 or 4 like that were game-changing plays or big-time plays. The secondary now finds the football. That has improved. The way they covered against LSU in one of the goal line stands early in that first half, that's man-to-man. Me versus you, and there are 2 first-round draft picks on the field. Actually, 3 if you count Daniels, but 2 receivers and one quarterback. I mean, there are some high points here. For Atkins, I think it's just as simple as, how about those high school kids graduating up the ranks instead of us leaning on kids that have been here for 5 and 6 years in the portal? Can we get there? Because if
any chance we'll ever find another center.
Right.
I mean, we can keep asking a lot of these questions. I mean, I do think I know people think I come at it from a fire a guy standpoint. When the defense was not coordinated a few years back, I was obviously absolutely furious watching one hand not knowing what the other hand was doing. That, by definition, you're the coordinator, and they weren't coordinated. So that made it impossible to defend. Like I couldn't defend him in that moment. I'm like, well, look, bad players, good players, if you're not coordinated, it doesn't make a difference. Like that was awful. But then what we've seen since is much stronger performance after much stronger performance, and they just build on it and they get better. You're right. They've got better players in here. I remember this is what Ira and I talk about all the time about Leonard Hamilton. We can't ever draw up an inbounds play. Why do we struggle so much to get an inbounds play? And well, suddenly we got good players. We never had a problem with inbounds plays. Everything worked out just fine. When we couldn't score, well, like what kind of offense is this? We can't score. And then all of a sudden you've got some NBA players and you're lighting it up. You're scoring all the time. So yeah, I get it. It's just fascinating to have the conversation because I'm no longer coming at it from hint, hint, wink, wink. I think this guy should be fired. I'm coming at it from, hey, listen, you've got to be vigilant with this when you want to be a championship program, when you want to be where Georgia's at. Georgia's the standard right now, and that means you have to check all the boxes. And Mike has to look at himself, and he's got to look at every coach, and he's got to look at every aspect of the program. And so nobody's ever kind of out of the woods there unless they build upon. You have 7 straight years of success. I'll give you a leeway for a bad year.
Yeah, it's just what's going to suck as time goes on is this is, for me, a combination of two things. The feeling of last year is like the COVID season for the basketball team, where you don't get to see it through, and there's so much promise. But then it also is a combination of that and 2015, where I felt like the 2015 football team had a defense that was worthy of the playoff, that was worthy of a national championship. We just were going back and forth between McGuire and Golson at quarterback. And you end up losing a game you got no business losing against Georgia Tech. That was their only conference win that season. But they were flying high and had a chance when they traveled on the road and played Clemson, played Deshaun Watson.
Oh, yeah.
That game was close in the second half. They pull away. But it was because of the offense that year. It was like this defense was just waiting. They were there, and they were at the level that they should be. I'm not saying that last year's defense was always like that. I'm just saying that what we saw the last 8 quarters of football, even in the swamp, the way that front four operated looked completely on an elite level. It's almost like they knew they needed to go to this different place because Jordan went down, and they were capable of doing it. Man, that was another championship-capable defense that we had this past year.
It's why we, when we talk about question marks, I think a lot of people outside the program will say, how are you going to replace Jordan Travis? What are you going to do on offense? I don't ask that question so much, and it's not a shot at Jordan Travis. I'm asking a lot about, okay, I already think I'm inclined. I already told you this. I'm taking the over on the 9.5. So I have them as at least a 10-win team. When you and I did our W's and L's and had fun with it, we both went, you went 11-1, I went 12-0. Now we obviously could change our minds with the next W's and L's, and we'll see what happens. And certainly after we see spring football, we'll have some opinions that might change. I just want to know how you replace some of the veteran production on defense. And I think they can. I think there are areas where they will improve certain players that are already here in place and then others that have transferred in that I think will make a big impact. But I do have more questions on that side of the ball, believe it or not, than I do offense. A lot of people are like, what? No Keon Coleman, no Johnny Wilson, no Trey Benson, no Jordan Travis, no Jaheim Bell, and you have more questions on the other side? Yeah, I do. Because a lot of those guys played hurt. A lot of those guys weren't productive at all in the second half of the season. And I think you just brought in a lot more speed and a guy who's played a ton of quarterback at the college level. I think it's going to be an easier transition than people think. I think they'll be better on the offensive line. I think they'll be able to better run the ball than they did a year ago. All of that will lead to easier ways of moving the football and scoring points. I'm more concerned about the defensive side.
Yeah, I think the number one thing, and this is why I like having these discussions, because it helps crystallize, what you're looking for. Remember the difference between Akeem Dent on the field and not on the field.
Right.
How everything was organized. Okay. He's out of the equation. Now add in the fact that you don't have either your linebackers lining up your front. So who the hell is going to do the communicating? Who the hell is going to do the organizing? Who is going to be the center fielder who has everybody where they need to go? And then at linebacker, who's going to be the guy in the middle of the field that says, all right, here's what you got to do You're in the wrong gap, Daryl Jackson. Setting up the defense pre-snap, getting communication in from the sideline, organizing that from inside and out. We knew, and we saw it in practice as well, when Tatum Bethune got on campus, that immediately got way better at the linebacker level. Like, oh, here's a veteran who knows how to communicate, get the information in quickly. And that's not nothing. When that goes away, you feel alone. Yeah, as a defender, as a fan in the stands, you're like, we're not ready. We're never ready. So who are going to be the players that do that and take that mantle? Is it going to be Lundy? Is it going to be Murphy? Is it going to be Conrad Hussey? Shaheem plays closer to the line of scrimmage, so I don't know that's going to be him. Is it Earl?
Yeah, I would think Shaheem can some of the time. We'll see about Hussey. The only reason he didn't get to play a lot more last year is he had no idea what he was doing. So he'll have to come a long way there. I don't know about Murphy. He's new to the program, but, he's a kid that we're excited about. Obviously, if you're recruited to play linebacker at Alabama and you're now here, I think we're right to be excited about you, but maybe he can. I don't know. We got to see. Everybody that came in said the right things. They all interviewed well. They all seem to have a great acumen for the game. Now we'll get to see it in spring. Like, how does it play out when you're in pads running around and you got to, make tough decisions, and you got to get guys lined up, as you say. That is Solving for the Future. Our friends at ISF, 40-plus years in business, clients relying on them to advise, protect, and advance their business and technology objectives. That's what they do. If you're in state government and you hear the sound of my voice here, reach out to our friends at ISF. Go to ISF.com to find out more. Chef Cameron Show, 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
A Tallahassee man convicted in a deadly drive-by shooting was sentenced to life in prison Wednesday afternoon. Shauna Marie Barr was sentenced for the murder of 40-year-old Centel DeShazier, an innocent bystander who was killed when shots were fired outside the Time Saver on Alabama Street on August 21st of 2020. Two other men who police believe were the targets of the shooting survived. Barr and co-defendant Devon Peterson were found guilty of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder at their trial in September of 2023. Peterson was automatically sentenced to life in prison, but because Barr was 17 at the time of the crime, the judge could consider a lesser sentence. The judge ultimately sentenced Barr to life in prison for the murder, but because he was a minor at the time of the crime, Barr is entitled to a review of his sentence in 25 years. This is Rachel Lene with Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Cloudy skies expected this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 72. Southwesterly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 45 with fog in spots tonight. Mainly cloudy skies expected. Daytime highs approaching 68 and foggy early tomorrow, overcast skies. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently, it's 71 degrees.
Hey, Jimmy.
Yeah.
You got one of those new cars that keeps you in the lane when you're driving or slams on the brakes if you get too close to another car?
No, I don't like that fancy technology stuff.
A lot of people don't. It's called lane departure warning and forward collision alert. And all that fancy stuff is attached to your windshield. So if it gets damaged, you need a qualified company like Seminole Auto Glass to replace and recalibrate your windshield. But don't call your insurance company. Just go to SeminoleAutoglass.com and upload your insurance card. Hey, Jimmy.
What?
Did you know that Teslas come with a unique new car smell? They call it Elon Musk. Better call Seminole.
So everybody knows, Eddie, that you are a spectacular cook. Of course they know that. If they go into Bumpa's, the food is always good. I mean, everything on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
Everything at Gordo's is delicious. I always, of course, get the Bungalow Chungla, as I call it.
The Bungalow Chung, Jeff?
Is that what is the pork?
The Bungalow Chung, Jeff.
Okay, the Bungalow Chungla. It's delicious. All these things, all the items, everything you do, a master cook. But, sir, I would ask you, what is a skill that you possess that you're particularly proud of, that nobody would know, and that you could share with us here?
Growing hair, Jeff. Growing hair.
You're an asshole. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to
That was a lengthy and detailed version of Solving for the Future, and I'm glad we did it. It was a fun conversation. Got me thinking about other aspects of the program that I'll be watching very closely this year. And I know that today is one day away from start of college baseball, and Florida State gets to participate again and try to right a wrong from what was a year ago a disaster. And man, am I looking forward to it. Tom, I will have a tall, cold one on your behalf when I walk into Dick Howser Stadium tomorrow.
Yeah, this is one of those days on the calendar, one of the first ones that hurts not being there. I always made it out there for opening day. Always made sure to happen by the animals. I've got a gift or two from them, so I'm going to have to, or for them, I should say, every year. So I should find somebody to go run over there and continue that tradition. But it is always one of those things where, up here where I am right now, if you say spring is coming, like that means something. At home in Tallahassee, like, well, it's always kind of warm here. It's not really like
we got it pretty good. Yeah.
Well, the weather's pretty good. We're going to be okay. But I love that sequence of time, especially when basketball is good. When you've got baseball going, basketball finishing the season, softball kicking ass, and then spring football. Like, it's chaotic from a workflow standpoint on the site side, but that's always a really fun part of the calendar. And even though the stakes are high for these programs, it's not as live or die as one Saturday of football, where there's like all the eggs go in this basket of a 3:30 kick on a Saturday and you're hosting Clemson. Like, you just get to watch a lot of games and ebbs and flows. That's what baseball is all about. It's about the weeks. It's about the weekend series rather than you lost 10-6 on a Friday. Well, you'll get them tomorrow. Now we need to start getting them tomorrow when we lose on a Friday, because last year there wasn't a whole lot of that.
There wasn't a lot of get back. They are early on in Los Angeles. The Genesis Invitational underway. Jordan Spieth having himself a day at -5 through 10. He's the leader, tied with Patrick Cantlay. Will Zalatoris, my man. Will Zalatoris is 5 under through 7, Tom Wang, through 7. Good to see him getting back playing competitive golf after missing a year with a bad back. Victor Hovland's playing well at -4. That is a star-studded list atop there. Sam Burns, and good for you, Gary Woodland. He's at 2 under. I wasn't making fun of Gary Woodland. There we go, Gary. Whole bunch of other guys, but the Tiger Woods watch, I wanted to update you on that. He's in the top 20. He's at -1. He's played 9, so he's making the turn, and he's 1 under. So, all right, 4 off the lead, 9 holes to play for his day. I think just about every one of his shots will be on when I get home today. There it is, buddy. There it is. I love the course. I love watching this event because of the course, too.
This is a great golf course. It's a lot of fun to watch. The first hole is basically a par 4, even though it's a par 5. Tiger did make 4 to start. I watched the first couple of shots. He ended up going birdie, bogey, bogey, birdie to start the day. I don't know what he did since then. The big question everybody wants to know, though, so Tiger's got a back 9. He's 1 under through 9.
Mm-hmm.
Is his score in the back 9 higher or lower than the amount of Zaxby's that we have in the Tallahassee area?
Oh, well, it will be considerably lower. I think if he shoots an 83 on the back 9, he'll never play another round, Tom. So 83 Zaxby's here in Tallahassee, and you guys know that already. You listen to this show. You're well aware of the 83 Zaxby's and our love and affinity for all 83 of those Zaxby's. Proud Golden Chief boosters for over 19 years. Get you some Texas toast and some really tasty fingers, and or the sandwich. You could get there's so much goodness on the menu there.
That is what you do. So if you're going to a tailgate this weekend for baseball, just go happen by one of the 83 Zaxby's. Go grab yourself, even if it's just, hey, can you bring something? All right, you're the guy who brings something. Be the hero. Go get the platter. Don't scrimp. Don't say I'm getting 2 boxes of Zax's fingers. No,
get the platter.
They'll thank you.
Will love it.
They'll love it in the postgame, too. When you come back out, the postgate is also a sneaky good time after the game's over.
Postgate's awesome, especially if you win. But if you don't, you can commiserate with some delicious leftover Zaxby's that you have sitting there. And if you do, you can celebrate with delicious leftover Zaxby's. You're good to go either way. I just know that in a week we will be doing probables, Tom. we will be doing probables. We'll have to manipulate the music and all the rights and all the nonsense, but we will do it. We're going to have probables, and we're going to celebrate that fact, and it's going to be good. It's going to be fun. And I, for one, have already started. Early this morning over a cup of coffee, I went to my, they're sneaky smart this way. They automatically renew your MLB package for the year. So I got a notice in my email while I was sipping coffee that, hey, buddy, charge your account 100 whatever. I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to be mad about that because I would have done it anyhow, but I would have liked to say in the matter, but they alerted me to it. And you know what I did? I immediately went over there, threw it on the big screen while I got my son's breakfast ready. And there I was watching MLB Network Spring Training Edition. I was elated. It was fun. It was good. Good work out of you, Tom. Good work out of you, Director. Be well, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk tomorrow on Libations Friday. Peace.